Our story starts at the end of a fierce battle, where Ang, the protagonist, is grappling with regret over his title as humanity's mightiest warrior. As he faces death, he feels unworthy of the title, despite having defeated all 7 of the Fin demons. However, there remains the 8th Fin demon, which is mentioned in the ancient king's stele. Ang believes that humans often fail to understand the true power of these demons, and he blames himself for not fulfilling the responsibilities of being the mightiest warrior. He wonders what the 8th Fin demon wants from him. As the demon approaches, Ang fears it may seek to mutilate his corpse in retaliation for the deaths of its underlings. As Ang's eyes close, he feels death enveloping him like darkness. After a while, he sees a glimmer of light and opens his eyes to find himself as a young boy, surrounded by many people in an unfamiliar room. He wonders where he is. Looking at his hands, he realizes this does not feel like a dream and is confused about what is happening. He touches his face and is shocked to find that it is not his own. His once ruggedly handsome and charismatic features are gone, and his sturdy physique has vanished. He is deeply concerned about his current whereabouts and identity. It was the Yahello's urban area, where the 3rd captain, Yacht, was addressing the gathered people. He wanted them to understand clearly what it meant to undertake the warrior examination, and that a warrior embodies protection and hope. He recounted a story from the year 3069 when their planet faced its doomsday. During that time, 6 colossal structures, known as the ancient king's steles, descended from the skies. Creatures, now known as demons, arrived and began massacring humans. After enduring brutal battles against their own extinction, humanity developed a way to fight back using grafting equipment. By recycling the cores found within the demons and equipping themselves with this technology, humans were temporarily granted powers on par with the demons. About 60 years ago, Ang, humanity's mightiest warrior, who was revered as a king by the warriors, led the world's forces against the greatest demonic horde ever recorded. The great battle raged for weeks, painting the world in a crimson hue. Ultimately, the warriors succeeded in defeating the demonic horde, delivering a crushing blow to the demons, and thus granting humanity 60 years of uninterrupted development and growth. Ang was shocked to hear about the events from 60 years ago and realized he had somehow been transported into the future. Yaya continued, explaining that the victory came at the cost of countless warriors who sacrificed their lives for the greater good, including Ang himself. Reports indicated that Ang had died in battle while fighting against several of the strongest of the 7 Fin demons. That battle marked a turning point for humanity. It cast aside its fear and rose from the darkness, determined to bring about a new dawn. This battle was known as Battle of Dawn. Ang thought this account was incorrect. He knew that the strongest demon was the 8th Fin demon, and although he was losing consciousness at the time, he had definitely seen it. Even now, humanity remained unaware of the true power of the demons. Yaya continued, emphasizing that without the fallen warriors, no one would be there to uphold the ideals of protection and hope. He asked if they all now understood what it meant to be a warrior. They all agreed. Ang murmured to himself that something was not right. Yaya heard Ang's murmur and approached him, noting that it seemed Ang did not fully understand what it meant to be a warrior. He then asked for Ang's name. Ang hesitated, wondering whether he should reveal that he was Ang, the mightiest warrior of whom they were speaking. He questioned whether they would even believe him, given that he had been transported from 60 years ago into a frail new body. Yaya learned Ang's name and expressed his disapproval, stating that it was disrespectful for such a great name to be borne by someone who could not grasp the fundamental qualities of a warrior. He accused Ang of disrespecting the legacy of the mightiest warrior. In his anger, Yaya punched Ang. Ang was shocked and realized that his current body was so weak it couldn't even respond to such an attack. He never imagined he would bear the same name again. Yaya informed Ang that he would be keeping a close eye on him during the upcoming warrior examination. He then instructed everyone to proceed to the examination grounds for their physical assessment. Lance asked Ang if he was, and introduced himself, expressing his pleasure at meeting Ang. Lu, visibly angered, reproached Lance for calling Ang by the great name of Ang when he was clearly a weakling. She then asked Ang if he still believed he would possess the same powers, just because he shared the name of the mightiest warrior. Ang was taken aback by Lu's arrogance, and questioned how she dared to speak so disrespectfully about his name. Lance explained that Lu was a prominent figure among their batch of warrior candidates known as the Solam Rakshasi. She was the daughter of the renowned Seto noble family from the Yahello's urban area. Ang recognized the Seto name as familiar. Lance helped Ang to his feet and inadvertently clicked a picture of the moment, joking that it was a mesmerizing bromance. As Tenny and Lu paused upon noticing the photo, Lu told them to continue. Ang then asked Lu who she was. Lance inquired if Lu took the photo. Ang told her to focus on more important matters. Misa, who had been observing, admitted to taking the picture and introduced herself. She explained that she was captivated by the moment and found it excellent source material for her work. The scene shifts to the physical assessment field. Ang thought to himself that despite his current body's condition, he was still the mightiest warrior. He found it laughable to hear what it meant to be a warrior in front of him, and was confident that his results would surprise everyone. The referee announced that the first physical assessment would be a long-distance endurance test. As the warriors took their positions and the race began, Ang was determined to finish first and set a new record. However, he ended up with the worst time, coming in last. Exhausted, he realized that his body was in worse shape than he had anticipated, and others laughed at his performance. The second test was the explosive arm strength test, in which Ang also finished last and even sprained his wrist. The third test was the explosive leg strength test, requiring participants to jump. Ang's jump was only half the distance of Lu's, who referred to him as an idiot. The referee announced that Ang was in last place in all the physical assessments, achieving the worst results in history. He warned that Ang might be eliminated from the examination. Ang was deeply disappointed by his performance. Misa continued to snap pictures, thinking it might be the last time she captures moments of Ang and Lance together. The referee informed Yacht that, given Ang's results, he was considering eliminating him from the second test. However, Yacht responded that while Ang might seem like a hopeless case, he still deserved the chance to participate in the second round, which would likely be his last assessment. He instructed the start of the second round. The warriors were informed that the second round would soon begin and would determine their synchronization with the grafting equipment. They were directed to proceed to the next assessment site. Ang saw this as his opportunity to prove himself. He remembered that in the past, he had maintained an average synchronization rate above 96%. Despite his current body's lackluster state, synchronization depended on willpower, and he was determined to show those who had laughed at him. As he observed the grafting equipment, which seemed to have advanced 60 years into the future and was remarkably light, he felt a sense of determination. Lu achieved a synchronization rate of 39%, the highest among the candidates, which was expected given her training in the martial family. Someone was eager to make her his girlfriend, and she was indeed dazzling. As she descended, Tenny and others praised her extensively. With an air of confidence, she headed to the lounge. Once there, she was thrilled to learn that she had achieved a 39% synchronization rate. Although she enjoyed the admiration, she decided to keep a low profile and calm down. Ang was impressed by Lu's 39% rate on the first test. Lance remarked on Lu's strength and spirit, noting that there was a fire burning beneath her slender physique. Ang sensed the same fiery presence in her. Lance mentioned that Ang didn't seem nervous. Ang replied that he was accustomed to such situations. The assessment continued. Many newcomers experiencing the grafting equipment for the first time displayed pained expressions. Due to the impact from the demon core, their bodies were subjected to extreme strain during their initial grafting. Some participants could not endure the pain and gave up. The warriors who achieved the lowest synchronization rate, with a minimum of 10%, would pass the test. Lance achieved a 24% synchronization rate. Naturally, there were some unexpected results. Misa scored 30% and also passed the test. Yacht commented that the assessment had revealed some promising rookies. A girl noted that, including Misa, there were a total of 6 warriors who had shown exceptional potential in their batch. Yacht acknowledged that while there were some promising candidates, there were still others who sorely lacked the necessary qualities. Finally, it was Ang's turn. Others were mocking him, speculating about what his synchronization rate would be, given his poor performance in the first round of assessments. Ang thought to himself that they would regret their laughter. He was determined to prove them wrong and hoped they wouldn't be able to handle the shock of what they were about to see. Ang chose the Crimson Core for its enhancement of physical strength and recalled that there were a total of 6 types of demon cores that could be acquired from the battlefield. The most commonly seen ones were crimson, yellow, green, and blue. He believed that achieving such a high synchronization rate required immense willpower. The strength of one's willpower determined how much power they could draw from the demon core, and further, how much control they could exert over it. He was asked if he was ready. He agreed, and once the process began, a strong reaction was felt in the lounge, leaving Lu surprised to find it coming from Ang. Ang thought to himself that he would demonstrate the synchronization rate of the mightiest warrior. Lance remarked that Ang was exceptionally strong and had been concealing his power. The staff was astonished, when the synchronization rate surged to 40%. Ang was confident that he would easily reach 96%, and his intensity increased. The warriors were astounded as the rate continued to rise, reaching 60%. Yao was shocked to see the synchronization rate and questioned how such an exaggerated rate was possible, wondering if there was a malfunction. The girl reported that the rate was still rising, reaching 80%. The warriors began to suspect whether Ang was cheating or if there was a problem with the equipment. Ang thought about being referred to as the king by the warriors and resolved to show them what the mightiest warrior could achieve. He wanted them to see the difference in power between them and himself. However, he felt an unusual shift, and his strength began to dissipate, leaving him exhausted. He declared that would not continue further. One of the men asked if he was playing around, and it turned out that there had been a malfunction. The final results showed a synchronization rate of only 10%. The girl explained to Yao that the demon core had shattered and was likely an anomalous core, which had caused the abnormal data. Yao wondered if this was indeed a malfunction. Ultimately, it was confirmed that Ong passed the test with a synchronization rate of 10%. Others commented that it was an anomalous demon core and that there was no way such a frail body could achieve such a terrifying synchronization rate. Tenny laughed at Ong's expense. Lance approached to check if Ong was all right. Lu, feeling a mix of fear and jealousy, thought there was someone more eye-catching than herself, which she wouldn't tolerate. Lance helped Ong leave the area. Ong reflected on how mature he had become, realizing that his competitiveness with the others had been a good thing, and he was relieved to have passed the test. Misa happily took pictures of Lance with Ong. As Ong sat in the lounge, he wondered about the earlier event, feeling as though something from deep within had drained his strength in a single breath, a phenomenon he had never experienced before. Despite his willpower raising the synchronization rate to 80%, even a low-quality core shouldn't have shattered like that. Yao arrived to congratulate them on making it to the final round of the examination, the real combat exercise. For Tenny, it would be their first time fighting against demons. He hoped that they would all pass the next phase safely. A man then instructed them to proceed to the third examination ground. Ong, feeling unwell, walked with a sense of foreboding, muttering that he felt he might die. As he left, Yao noticed Ong's broken crimson core and became intrigued by his power. Yao was curious to see how Ong would perform in the upcoming fog hunt round. They gathered in front of the gate, which was about to open. Ong thought about how it would be his first time stepping outside and reflected on how humans had lived in isolated settlements for years. With the area beyond the wall perpetually shrouded in thick fog, they were instructed to stop wasting time, proceed quietly, and check their equipment thoroughly before talking, or else they risked death. Aang pondered the new core he had received. He didn't believe the core itself was the issue, but his strength had vanished suddenly, as if something within him had rejected the core. He wondered if this was a side effect of time travel. As he moved forward, he sensed the presence of demons. Shockwaves emanated from him, reaching a nearby cave where a demon was seated. The demon, feeling a presence stronger than itself, was taken aback. Aang wondered if these were the demons he had sensed, as something within him began to resonate for an unknown reason. Just as he was contemplating this, Lu urged him to move ahead. He apologized for the delay, and Lance approached to ask if there was a problem. Aang started to say something, but before he could finish, a man instructed him, Misa, and 3 others to form a team. Since everyone else was ready, there was no need to wait. They should catch up with the group ahead. Misa wondered if forming a team with them was part of Aang's plan. He replied that he hadn't considered it. Liu urged them not to linger and to move ahead. She had felt anxious earlier, worried that no one would team up with her. Lance then asked Aang to join him, and Misa took a photo of the group, announcing that their team was now formed. The dispelling stele was a black-colored structure made from durable minerals. One of its minerals had a special property that dispels fog within a certain distance. The examiner explained that they would be undertaking the exam as a team of 4. He assumed they were all aware of the exam's nature, which was the fog hunt. Each team member would receive a combat knife and a mini-fog dispelling device, made from the same material as the stele. Their mission was straightforward. The fog hunt was the final obstacle every new recruit must face in the fog-covered world. A warrior must be mindful of the dangers that lurk in the fog. Becoming a warrior involves more than just having a capable physique. It requires facing one's fears and confronting the unknown as a team. They must awaken the hunter within them, defeat the demons that appear, and only then will they truly earn the title of a warrior. The examination for the first team concluded, and the second team was instructed to prepare. Yoshi, Joel, and Yao observed the scene from the gate. Yoshi noted that there were several promising new talents in the group, but her focus was clearly on Lu. She inquired about Joel's and Yao's opinions. Joel responded that Lu, coming from a martial family with a proper upbringing, had the potential to become a fine warrior. Yao added that there were multiple individuals to watch, specifically mentioning Ang. Yao had investigated Ang's core personally, but had found no faults. He remained curious about what had really happened during the earlier event. Yoshi patted Yao on the head, calling him Tong Tong, and asked what he was thinking. Yao asked her not to use that nickname. Joel commented that only Yoshi could make Tang Tang blush. Yoshi then inquired if they had assessed the demon levels, emphasizing that only non-fin demons should appear within the exam ground. Yao reassured her not to worry. They had been monitoring the area for several days to ensure the exam would proceed safely, confirming that no fin demons were within a safe distance of Helos Town. Joel added that even if a fin demon did appear, they would intervene to protect the future warriors. The next group's exam was completed, and it was now time for the 10th group. Lu, who was in this group along with Ang, prepared to start. As Ang picked up the small container, Lu took it from him and rushed ahead, eager to demonstrate her skills. Ang wondered why someone would be so intent on showing off. Tenny quickly followed Lu, jumping to place the container in its designated spot. Yoshi commented that Lu's recovery core was impressive, noting that her dexterity was on par with the blue agility cores, which reflected her martial family background. Soon, demons began to attack. Ang instructed the group to engage the demons, and Lance leaped into action, delivering a powerful punch. Yao remarked that Lance's performance was commendable, and that he had already harnessed his core strength effectively. Ang drew his knife, advising each person to target a single demon. Tenny complied and charged into battle. Misa slashed at one demon multiple times, eventually killing it. Lance also eliminated a demon with a single punch. Joel noted that the coordination between Misa and Lance was excellent, with Misa showcasing impressive moves and maximizing the agility cores. Yao reminded them not to focus too much on any one person. Lu then drove her knife into a demon, causing it to burst apart. Now it was Ang's turn to showcase his skills. He focused on the 3 critical points: the throat, chest, and abdomen. With precise strikes, he targeted these areas, reflecting on the limitations of his current body and the amount of burst damage he could deliver. Determined to push his limits, he prepared to test his capabilities under these exam conditions, and rushed forward to continue attacking the demon. The demon punched him, but he dodged and stabbed the knife under its shoulder, thinking that his reaction time was too slow. As the demon attempted to kick him, he dodged again and stabbed the knife once more, noting that his motor coordination was lacking. He even landed a few hits but found that his attacks were too weak. Lance remarked that it seemed like Ang was toying with the demon. Misa was taking pictures and wondered if she would capture everything. Lu remained unresponsive but thought that Ang was intentionally showing off. Finally, Yoshi noticed and asked who he was, observing that he was pressing his attacks effectively. Joel added that Ang also seemed to move like a seasoned veteran. Ang concluded that his body couldn't use any of the abilities from his past, and he was tiring quickly. A dire situation. He decided it was time to finish off the demon. However, as he rushed to attack, something emerged from the group to kill the demon. Misa wondered what those roots were. As they fought the demon, a one-fin demon emerged. Recognizing the threat, Yao instructed the warriors to fall back, and they quickly complied. Yoshi and Joel also engaged the one-fin demon. Yoshi urged the hunters not to panic and to retreat to Yao, who promised to protect them until they reached town. The one-fin demon remarked that a human felt like a demon. Ang and his 3 friends were already trapped and wondered what the demon was saying. Lu thought the no-fin demon was no match for the one-fin demon and feared she would be torn to shreds in an instant. Ang realized that his current body wasn't equipped to handle a one-fin demon and felt overwhelmed by the fear of facing such a formidable opponent as an ordinary warrior. The one-fin demon incapacitated the 4 of them and began to carry them away. Joel and Yoshi rushed to confront the demon, but as it fled underground with the 4, Joel instructed the group to follow. After some time, the trail ended abruptly. Yoshi wondered how a one-fin demon could have appeared suddenly, given that Yao had repeatedly checked the area for days without making any mistakes. This kind of incident had never occurred before. Yao arrived, questioning where the 4 warriors had gone and why they had stopped tracking the demon. Joel told him to calm down as the trail had ended. Yoshi explained that the one-fin demon seemed to have descended deeper and that they shouldn't rush since the area ahead was unexplored. Yaod, recalling his past and the loss of his brother, pounded the ground in frustration, blaming himself for the danger faced by the four warriors. Joel suggested returning to town, betting that it had descended into chaos in their absence. He proposed sending search teams to investigate the surrounding area and ensure no more one-fin demons were present. Yoshi agreed that no one expected such an outcome, but emphasized the need to stay calm, even though she knew it was difficult for Yaod. Yaod stood up, telling both Yoshi and Joel to return to town while he continued searching for the four warriors, assuring them not to worry. Joel began to speak, but Yoshi interrupted, instructing Yaod to return before sunset. Yaod agreed and ventured into the fog. Yoshi remarked that they wouldn't be able to change Yaod's mind. Joel agreed, adding that Yaod's younger brother had been taken by a demon, and Yaod still blamed himself for that loss. Yoshi noted that if Yaod's brother were alive, he would be around the same age as the captured kids, and they likely reminded Yaod of him. The scene shifts to the cave where Ang and the others were tied up. Ang woke up, confused about their location, and was relieved to find that everyone was still alive. The demon appeared from behind, commenting that Ang was the first to wake and seemed different from the other three. The demon was curious about Ang's identity and why he had a similar aura to that of the demon, even appearing stronger than the one-fin demon. Ang asked what the demon was talking about. In response, Ang emitted a red light, breaking free from his restraints and charged at the demon. The demon dodged Ang's attack. Ang thought to himself that in the past, he could have sliced the demon's head off before it even had a chance to react. He needed to rescue the others. He noted that the one-fin demon had a red core, which gave it agile movement and flexible limbs, enhancing its reaction and attack speed. However, this also meant that its joints weren't protected by thick skin, making its agility both a strength and a weakness. Just then, the demon extended spikes from its hand and stabbed them into Aang. Aang realized that targeting the demon's joints was the only way to exploit its weakness. He pressed hard to force the demon's hand out, determined not to be underestimated. He declared to the demon that he had killed countless one-fin demons before. The demon responded by delivering a brutal kick, injuring Aang and causing him to bleed. The demon taunted Aang, stating that even though he knew its weakness, as a wood-type demon, it could regenerate its body. Aang was shocked, as he believed only green core demons had regenerative abilities. He wondered if demons had evolved over the past half-century. The demon accused Aang of underestimating it, and then used roots to stab through Aang, drawing him closer. Grabbing Aang by the head, the demon said that he still didn't understand Aang. Aang felt the roots piercing through his organs, causing intense pain and making it hard to breathe. He had only just been reincarnated, yet it seemed he was already on the brink of death. He feared for the lives of the other three as well. Just as in his past life, Aang felt that everyone would die alongside him, and he was filled with regret and sorrow. He lamented his weakness and felt profound remorse for his companions. The one-fin demon, sensing Aang's weakness, decided to consume him in order to evolve. However, as the demon prepared to eat Aang, another demon within Aang questioned if the one-fin demon planned to consume him. It pondered whether, if Aang died, the demon's plan would be thwarted and expressed frustration at having to use its remaining consciousness in such a dire situation. The one-fin demon sensed an overwhelming, terrifying aura. As the demon form within Aang began to emerge, the one-fin demon wondered if it was a five-fin or six-fin demon. The release of energy from Aang's demon was immense, causing tremendous pressure and sending waves of power into the sky. The one-fin demon was struck with fear as the eight-fin demon revealed itself. The eight-fin demon declared itself the strongest red core demon and the king of the one-fin demon. That's a wrap for today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. We love having you here and can't wait to share more awesome content with you. Don't forget to drop a comment letting us know what you think, and we'll see you in the next upload.